Luckily, I have an array of bright colors in my acrylic art bin. Painstakingly, I picked close matches and started the patching process. Some of these colors have a slight transparency, so they will need a white base, just like a decal. More of the same on the passenger side. Here's a mix I made for the pastel blue on the canopy. Notice the wheel fairing in rough shape? Yeah, it had a rough journey when the decal broke, and I had to repair it. With the patching done, I plan to layer up the clear so I can bury these flaws. Then sand it all smooth to help hide them in plain sight. It's a big ask, I know.
Nobody's gonna know. Nobody's gonna know.
They're gonna know.
How would they know? How would they know? How would they know? I can't. Oh my god!
With the decals applied and patched, I moved to the underside of the body. Because of MPC's injector pin marks, I decided to slather this stuff all over the inside so it looks like the whole body is fiberglass. It's a lot like cement, and it doesn't lay down like any paint you want to work with. On the bottom of the body, I placed a nose frame on it and traced the contact area with my X-Acto so I know where not to put the textured acrylic. At this point, it took a drive to think. Is this going to look convincing? Is it more trouble than it's worth? After the ordeal with the decals, I thought, most of this is going to be covered. Let's forge ahead. This is the rear section where the engine sits. On the top section, I was able to use a small putty knife to smooth out the texture a bit. Look at how bad the injector pins are. Here are all the body panels with the first coat of the texture applied. After some sanding, I placed the frame onto the body and the results speak for themselves. Before sanding with 320, after sanding with 320. To get a fiberglass color, I used dark titanium white acrylic paint. This is the first coat. In the vain hopes that the frame would match the mounting points on the body, I used strips of vinyl to mask where this was supposed to happen. The matches were hit and miss. I did the same for the nose frame. Note where I scraped the black paint off. Later on, because of the texture, the frame sat a little higher, creating a gap where my glue points would be. I had to cut strips of styrene to fill the gap so I would have solid glue points. This is the next domino in the way of making the body fit over the chassis. Moving along, I had the cockpit to do next. It was painted in Tamiya flat aluminum. Then the pipes were marked black with my Sharpie Pro. It took a couple of swipes to get a uniform coat. Here are the cockpit panels with the Sharpie black. I brush painted the seat upholstery. I then decided to seal up the cockpit walls with quick shine. The engine block is painted and attached to the shatter shield, and it even affects the alignment of the rear end. It's a major pain, and the only way I could get everything to line up was leave the passenger side crooked looking. Mind the gap. If you look close, you can notice the valve covers are starting to take a beating during assembly. I'll definitely need to paint them toward the end. While all that dried, I took a look at the blower tubes. These tubes were first designed in the 60s, and time has not been nice to the mold. I had to clean up the clamps on both ends. A little styrene, a triangle-shaped file, and some patience had it sorted out. Next, I had to address the missing fuel delivery system. This chassis is super tight, and I could understand why MPC avoided this. My spare parts box is plentiful, however, and provided what I needed. The two air cleaners together seemed a little wide, and I wanted that custom machine look, so I sanded the bottom down to lower the height of them. I then flat-sided each air cleaner and pushed them together. After some more glue and sanding, I was happy with the result. Here's another angle. Think I could put injector hoses in there? If I was going to run hoses, I would need a fuel distribution block. So I made one, actually a couple, because I couldn't get the holes in a straight line. Here's the best two I could come up with. Does anyone have any pointers on how to get straight holes? I drew a line, I did divots, I was careful, but I guess my hands are to blame. Here's the injector line made from ProTech rubber fuel line, numbered PTMC14. I didn't buy the fittings, so I used gold paint. With a tiny drill bit, I attached the fuel lines to the air cleaners. Next up was the main fuel line from the cell. I hated the kit included part, so I replaced it with a braided Tamiya hose. So I didn't have to drill a big hole into a small part. I used some scrap fuel line and inserted it into the big hose. I then wrapped it with heat shrink tubing to give it a clamped hose look. Here's the whole assembly for the engine side of the fuel line. This is the Tamiya hose I used. Now I made a bit of a mistake here. The heat shrink was too long. I decided to let it go. You'll see why later. Because it's a flexible hose, physics demands it needs to be secured in a real, hard accelerating race car. So I formed the line to attach to the frame and used old wire ties to hold it in place. Where the ties are is a dab of super glue, and the hose is held in place temporarily while the glue dries. I then cut the wire ties and wrapped a strip of aluminum foil around the hose to make it look like it's clamped. Here's another view of the line. I also ran a fuel return line with the smallest hex nut in my collection. With the plumbing largely done, I needed to change pace, so I got back on the body. I applied 6 thin coats of the quick shine to build a buffer layer that would allow me to smooth out those damn decals. I used very fine grit sandpaper to start the smoothing process. I then layered the quick shine on even more. Thin layers at first, to build the depth I needed to bury all these decal flaws. I was really on a knife edge here with the sanding. I had to be very careful not to sand through the clear and attack the decal underneath. While waiting for the quick shine to dry, I decided to repaint the Hemi's valve covers. It was still too soon. During the polishing process, I kept burning through the paint on this ridge. I decided to get the piece polished, then run a red pinstripe on the ridge and reseal it. After many hours of sanding, clear coating, and polishing, the body is finally done.
We've only just begun to live. White lace and promises, a kiss for luck, and we're